Hello, I'm Opala and I work as an associate to Pickle Factory. Well, Pickle Factory is a hub for dancers and movers, a space for dance curious to meet, think, imagine dance. We are looking for a permanent venue in the city, a home where artists and audience can come together across the board. And till we find a permanent venue, we strive to create a place anywhere, a home for dance, even online for the moment. And we are very glad to partner with Top Cat CCU as part of a new series, Body Languages, where we explore movement with each featured artist every week. In today's edition of Body Languages, we have with us noted contemporary flamenco dancer Annalouise Paul as she explores the idea of home at a time where home is nowhere and yet everywhere.
me he encontrado, las que me he encontrado, hay una camiseta blanca que con luna de color, cárgame Dios compañerito, salud, la colorada. Que la tristeza de mi pelo, con Romero llamado no ya y la tristeza de mi pelo. Mi amante parero me trajo un loro, ya me trajo un loro. Con la sala dorada y el pico de oro, con la sala dorada y el pico de oro. Ya hay mare, mare, ya hay mare. Yo creí que llovía, y agüita no cae, y agüita no cae, y agüita no cae.
Hello, I'm live. Am I live? Am I alive? Hi there. Hello. Hi, I'm Annalouise. Is there anybody out there that can just tell me if we're live, just so I know? Going live. Hello. Thank you, Dana. So thanks so much, everybody, for watching. It's really a privilege to share work at any time, but certainly at this time when there is no opportunity to perform, and to be able to share work on a platform such as Top Cat or with the Pickle Factory is quite it's a blessing. Thank you very much to both of those. Hello. I'm just going to say hello to people as you come in. Thank you so much to both organizations. It's really an honor to be included in your program. So the work that you've just seen is three small parts of ideas that I've been exploring, basically because I don't have a place to dance right now, which I'm sure I'm not alone with many dancers around the world. But what you see right here is my studio flat. It's one room, so I can't dance. And of course, I've got neighbors upstairs and below me that will freak out if I do. So I've basically gone and started practicing down. Hello, Nishit. Hi, everyone. I've started practicing down in a community space in public for the last 3 weeks. And the sort of, I guess the irony of this space is that, and some of you will know that, it's actually a big hall that is now run by an organisation called Critical Path here in Sydney, which is a choreographic research centre, which is closed because of lockouts, and we're not allowed to have gatherings, right? So there am I at this amazing space that's completely unavailable, but I'm outside. So of course I'm outside, and there's thousands of joggers going by, and they want to know what I'm doing, and they're interested. And so in a sense, my practice, which is generally private, has now become public, but it's also become performative. And so then the ideas I've been working on about home and where does home sit for me in my body, and the meeting of flamenco and contemporary dance over the years has sort of more and more kind of settled in my body as a safe place for me to explore from. Then putting that out there kind of public is interesting, and people walk by and they want to talk and they want to watch. And one lady the other day said to me, "Oh, do you want an audience?" And I said, "Well, not really, but you're welcome to stay and watch." So it's been interesting. And then the second piece, I got up to this sort of, it's the same space, but there's an upstairs area, and I wanted to show the beautiful. There is this amazing choreographic space that's on Sydney Harbour, $1 million mansions all around, boats, all of this, incredible wealth. And, most artists, don't have a hope in their lifetimes of achieving anything like that. Not that they necessarily want to, but this gorgeous scenery that I'm then dancing flamenco. And I think the juxtaposition of that too is really interesting, because doing that particular piece up there where I've got the vocal and you've got the really full-on flamenco singing, which is a bulería, by the way, for anybody that's interested, bulería, has made people kind of look and stop and see where that's coming from. Most people laugh, they love it, they smile. But it was an interesting experience to do that. And then the third piece is back here and behind me. The curtains are drawn, but it's in front of my windows. So then what is that as a performance space? Well, the trees outside, and actually those trees block the police station where I live. So there's actually police officers offices that, you know, are opposite me. So there am I doing my, you know, abstract movement, and the police can probably see me, and that's okay. So it's just a sort of an interesting thing. But within all of that, this idea of home and where does it sit in my body, and I suppose that's really what the practice is about, more than the performative side, which it's become because of lockdown, and where flamenco, you know, is such a performative, not performative, you know, it's spectacle for the most part, and the work with flamenco that becomes introspective is often not seen on stage. And so I suppose for me, it is with some artists, but for me, it's about how do I get the introspection of my work out into the flamenco work. And that for me has always been through working with my contemporary dance practice. So finding movement and processes that kind of explore that, and that's what this third piece was. So I started with something that the first piece where everybody's walking by, that, you know, is really looking at my movement vocabulary and how I like to create movement. The second piece was much more kind of a strict flamenco piece, although it can't really be strict because there's no live music, and, you know, dance without music, they kind of go together in flamenco anyway, and I know that's the case with Indian classical as well. But then here the processes that are really just internal, and I used a little bit of I was in Barcelona a couple of years ago. I went to Montserrat, and the chimes of the monastery were going while I was there, and so I just recorded them on my phone. So it's really just chimes. So yeah, that's kind of an overview of what I'm exploring. And then I suppose the third part to all of that is then to create something for this platform where it's filmed. It suddenly becomes it's not live, so it's film. So then the way that you know you watch it is different, because we're so used to watching things on TV and film that it suddenly became, well, let me play with this medium as another element to this particular call to action from Vikram from Pickle Factory. So yeah, I don't know if that's kind of an big overview, but I guess let's talk a bit about the questions. So Vikram, you just asked me a minute, can you talk a little bit about, I'm squinting because if I put my glasses on, you're going to get glare. All right, so you either get glare or you get me squinting. Can you talk a little bit about the pub, a bit more? I think that when the private, which is the, you know, the process and the internal workings become public, it's really even having a camera in front of you, it's no longer private anymore. It's performance. And so as a performer, the way in which I performed shifts. So for instance, doing the last piece, you know, that's working on processes. That's me working on a particular process I've been working on for about 4 or 5 years, you know, consistently. And then to perform a process is also really, it's kind of a head shift, you know. Can you ask me a more specific question, Vikram? Because I'm going to ramble otherwise about that, about the private, the public, and the performative. Anybody else got a question? I'll come back to it, but yeah. Questions? Okay. not accept. Okay, no questions. Let's see, what can we do? Should we do a little? Okay, here we go. It's the transitions between them that I find. What transitions between? Oh, yeah, a location as a character. Okay. The transitions, yes. The transitions between working privately, publicly, and in performance. That is the tricky part. That's exactly it. That is the tricky part. For me, I start questioning what is performance and what is my practice. My practice is performing, but when I practice, it's in private. So I think the reason I went up to the second one, I went upstairs, is because I wanted a different view, or different kind of angle, but I also wanted to get away from people. But then because of where I was and I was making so much noise, it became even more visible and audible. But I think how I managed to balance the transition between them all is hi Ishma. Great to see you too. I can't see you, but hi. How I managed to balance that is that I think what I did, Vikram, is I turned the camera, like in the second one, I deliberately turned my back to the camera. And so I'm not performing to the camera, I'm performing, or I'm dancing, or I'm practicing, but with my back a lot to the camera. Does that make sense? So I think I tried to diminish the idea of performing by doing that. Yeah. I think, yeah. Can you talk about, I don't know if that answered it, Vikram, but can you talk about the location? Oh, well, yeah, you might have missed it before, Kritika, because the location is basically local. It's about 10-minute walk. It's actually a big, it's called the Drill Hall, and it's an old, beautiful space that was where the Navy used to practice, being on the bay there, in the harbour. Now it's actually run by the local council, and it's been the lease. The people who have the lease on it is actually a choreographic research centre, Critical Path. They've been there for about 15 years. So the location is prime Sydney, prime wealth, like serious wealth, like yachts and mansions and the whole thing. But then you've got this choreographic research centre in the middle, where you get all the artists coming that have got no money. But it's like a second home for me, because I go there. I occasionally have a residency, or it just feels like a place I can go. And so I knew it existed. I knew it's got a wood decking outside. So I just went down and I'm doing it. So that's what it is. And actually, ironically, or maybe not, but I actually lived on that street about 30 years ago. So before it became what it is, that Critical Path, I mean. So the whole area is kind of part of my history, my own history with Sydney, and Sydney being my home. Just in terms of, I'm going to put this on, just in terms of space, is it different for you dancing inside a room as opposed to a oh yeah, totally, as opposed to a harbour, for example? Totally. Yeah, I mean, being in a room, in a studio, you're not visible, so you can kind of just make a lot of mistakes. Do whatever you got to do, make a cup of tea, scratch your head, and walk around and swear at the shadows on the walls, or whatever you need to do, right? But when you're outdoor, well, actually what happens is when I'm right outdoor along that strip, there's often a guy there, a trainer, a physical trainer, Really nice guy, buff and all of that, but he's always got his clients, and he usually does about 3 hours, and we always seem to be there at the same time, and he's got this doof doof going on while I'm going tick, 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 and we totally get along, and he has no problem with it, and I have no problem with it. So that's really interesting that we have this kind of really different physical practice happening at the same time. So I think it's just about dancing inside a room as opposed to a harbour. Well, flamenco also, I suppose, doing that piece up the top, flamenco for me, and it's particularly choosing that piece because it's so from the depths of the gut that song is coming out, that there's a kind of a opposition there too, that flamenco comes from the street, or it comes from marginalized communities, and there it is being kind of put out into this place that's completely beautiful and wealthy. And I think it's really interesting because the people around there, they're actually very responsive, and I thought they would be quite stuck up or whatever, but they love it. So it's kind of interesting that people are accepting. Yeah. Any other comments, questions? Did I answer you properly, Vikram? I probably didn't. Maybe you can. Hi, Danielle. It's one of my beautiful dancing students. I miss you guys. I love the settings and textures so I love the settings and the different textures in buildings and sounds versus your beautiful song. Oh, thank you, darling. I really miss teaching my students. There's Isabel, one of my other beautiful students. Did you improvise your movements, or was it planned sequence? Can you still concentrate? Isabel, I in the first piece, there's some sections that I choreographed. It's kind of like doing flamenco, right? You have your choreographed sections, and you kind of carry them in your little bag, and then you bring them out. Miss you. I know, it's terrible. But you bring them out and you perform them based on the. So I'm talking about flamenco now. Right? You bring out those sections of movement or dance based on when the singer is singing or not singing, or the guitar is doing something. And as a soloist, you can do that. If you're doing a group choreography, no, you can't do that. But so in that sense, they're choreographed, but you're improvising with those pieces of choreography. That's what I did in the first piece as well, Isabel. I used sections of choreography that I then started mucking around with. Yeah. So it's kind of a bit of both, really. So it's not pure improvisation where I'm just doing anything, because that's answering your question, Dana. About being in your own space. That's when I can kind of do stuff and really improvise and look at it and go, oh, that was terrible. But for this platform, for the Pickle Factory and for Top Cat, I didn't want to do something where I felt like, oh, I didn't really want to show that. Like I wanted to make sure that it's solid. So yeah. Anything else? Should we do a bit of arm work? Danielle, are you still there? Let's do some hands. Isabel, everybody else that's out there, let's do a little bit of hand work. So we're going to take our hands. We're going to bring your fingers in, tuck your thumb. Okay, I'm getting more questions. So I'm going to do this, and you're going to follow me, and I'm going to read the questions at the same time. Kunal, hi. I absolutely love the idea of keeping the conversation with the child. It was not no, that's right. Yes. Did you muck around with the part Vikram, as in did their presence or reaction change? Okay, loved how the different locations you chose. We're going to go up now. I'm going to keep reading. You chose added interesting dynamism to the visual composition. Yes. Yes, Sohini, thank you. Yeah, I mean that's kind of that's what I was saying before, that, you know, taking this challenge, or this challenge that Vikram has offered me. I know, great. Thank you, Isabel. It's 11 o'clock for Sydney people, so they might need to go to sleep now. But that's what I was saying, that this challenge of doing something for camera meant that I, as the creator, kind of go, well, do I present something that's just as if you were watching it live, like a documentation, or do I create something with the camera, inside the camera? And so the last piece, where I'm just working with form and abstract, like the process, I just decided to have single shots and, simply show the work, and even show myself pressing play twice, so it's really just, that's what you're seeing is pure process. But for the other two pieces, the second piece, I couldn't make it one straight thing, because every time I did it, it's the improvisation. I just kept changing my choreography based on the music. And so I then had to cut between. But then the first piece, as I mentioned to what Isabel's question, I just use choreography that I've already created and improvise with that. And so answering Vikram's question, yes, I did and I didn't muck around with people. I kind of, in a way, that's where the performative and the practice don't intersect, is I just chose to just stay within my world and let them be voyeurs of me, and then the camera being a voyeur of them and me, as it were. So in that sense, I know I didn't muck around. But that little boy, which Kunal is referring to, that was really beautiful moment, because I mean, when kids come up, I always stop and talk, or dogs come up and bark sometimes. Or I think I mentioned a while back, a lady stopped and she said, "Oh, do you want an audience?" And I said, "Well, no, but you can stay and watch." I talk to people when they talk to me. I don't just ignore them. But at that moment, the camera was going. So that little boy was captured, and it was just so beautiful. And he's been back 2 or 3 times since. That was a couple of weeks ago. And he says, "When's the show?" I keep saying, "Oh, it's next week." So I feel pressure, because, well, now I have 16 minutes of material I can show him live. And, I don't know if he'll be happy with that or not, but might be all a bit too weird for him. But he, actually, as kids go, they accept pretty much. I'm rambling now. They pretty much accept anything, as long as it's done with integrity. Loved differently. Yes. Anything else? Have I been given the bell? Yeah, 35 minutes. I think my bell, they've rung the bell on me. So did we get some arms in? I will do some palmas, but I'm going to wake the neighbours up. I'll get yelled at. Next time the little boy comes along, you can direct. Yes, great idea. I will. I will direct into this video. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining. And thank you so much again to Top Cat for hosting this, and to the Pickle Factory for hosting me. And it's really, really important that dance, and happy International Day of Dance. And it's important that dance gets platform, not just online, but in the flesh. It's important that organizations like the Pickle Factory, who do such great work, and they're so supportive of all kinds of dance. They're not exclusive in any way. They're very inclusive. they get a platform. So we want them to have a place, a home for dance. And if there's anybody out there that can help them, that'd be fantastic in Kolkata. I think that's it, but thank you so much again. And follow Top Cat, follow the Pickle Factory, and you can follow me, Annalouise Paul Dance Theatre, and happy International Day of the Dance. Thank you, everyone. Signing off.
We hope you enjoyed today's video. You may want to check our recent online collaborations with Arts Forward, A Sudden Strangeness. You will see 24 movement improvisations in response to Pablo Neruda's poem, Keeping Quiet, sent in by artists around the world in self-isolation. And look out for more body languages sessions coming up next Wednesday on the Top Cat CCU live cast Facebook page at 6 p.m. We have a host of other programs as well as discovering the world of dance and movement. There's more on our website, details below. Follow us, join us, support us, drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. And see you next Wednesday.